Baywatch is another attempt by Hollywood to take something old from like the 70s and 80s and 90s, an old TV show or a sitcom or something like that, and then redo it with a modern facelift. I mean, we've seen that in the last few years with 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street and Chips. This year, they tried to do it with Chips. So now we have Baywatch, which is based on the really popular TV show, Baywatch from back in the day, you know, with the huge bouncing boobs and everything. This movie stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Zac Efron and a host of other absurdly, insanely attractive people who it's almost unfair how fine they are. Seriously, the women in this movie look like they were carved right from God's dick. It just doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. So in this one, Zac Efron plays this former Olympic athlete who has to basically do lifeguard service as part of community service or whatever. And once he gets there and he starts bantering back and forth with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and the rest of his lifeguard crew, he starts to realize that lifeguard duty that they're signing up for is a lot more than he bargained for. In fact, he starts to realize these people take their job a little bit too seriously. Like, there's some illegal shit that happens in the bay where they do the lifeguard shit at, and then Zac Efron is like, oh, well, we should probably leave that to the police. And then Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is like, well, we could, but then we wouldn't really have a movie, so we kind of have to investigate the shit. Alright, you're right. I do like that paycheck. Let's have a movie. In honor of all that slow motion sexy boob shit from all the Baywatch TV shows in the past, I feel like it's time to break down the cleavage of this thing. Let's go. Now, as a kid, I wasn't really a big fan of Baywatch. As a kid, you're young, you're impressionable, and all I saw were big round objects floating in air towards me on the screen. I'm sorry, as a kid, if you asked me why I'm watching Baywatch, there's really one reason and one reason only for any adolescent young kid. Boobs! So bearing that in mind, in this movie, the boobs and the women that they're attached to are pretty much the biggest takeaway I have from this movie. Whether or not that says that this is a good movie or not, well, that's up to you. But for me personally, the main thing I took away from the movie is how hot the women are. I mean, that's just kind of how the movie forces you to look at things. I mean, the movie repeatedly objectifies the females in this film anyways, and then if you look at their characters in the movie, they don't really add much to the film at all, so you kind of have to objectify them, and by objectify, I mean every time they're on screen, you're going to be picturing them naked. Alexandria Daddario, you guys should know who she is. She's like that really sexy big tit chick that's in every other movie ever. Yeah, there's nothing really she adds to this movie, but there are two main reasons to watch her in this movie. Hefty and Lefty. You decide. There's this other chick, I can't really remember her name. I think it's Brooks something, but I can't remember her name. She's so hot that she made me reevaluate my life after the movie was over. But Priyanka Chadra, that really hot chick from that show Quantico or whatever it is, I mean, she's the one where I say it's unfair. Like, she's unrealistically sexy. She doesn't have a molecule or a follicle out of place. I mean, everything about her pores, her skin, her eyes, her teeth, her hair, her hips, her tits, her ass, everything is just perfect to an unrealistic degree. Watching her in the movie, you're just like, it's really not fair. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, this goddess level person is in this movie. She is OP as fuck when it comes to sexy. Really, I would say that the main strength of this movie is Zac Efron and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, though. If you separate yourself from the really hot women, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Zac Efron are probably the best parts about this movie. They have really solid chemistry. They have really good banter back and forth. They have some really funny one-liners that they pull off to each other. The thing I like about their characters is that they set up to be these completely different characters, but then you realize over the course of the movie that their characters are actually a lot more similar than you would think they are. And again, both of them are really charismatic and really funny and really likable, and you like them in this movie. There are some pretty cool references and throwbacks to old Baywatch. David Hasselhoff is in this movie, and yes, for anyone wondering, Pamela Anderson does have a gratuitous cameo towards the end, so you do have that to look forward to. For every giant pair of slow-motion Bahama Mamas that are just glorious and glistening and sweaty and stuff, there's a sweaty, disgusting, unaesthetic man boob that is staring right back at it. So, we gotta talk about the man boobs now. By the way, I mean that metaphorically, or as they say in Guardians of the Galaxy, it's metaphorical! The humor's kind of hit or miss. This movie's actually not as funny as it would like you to believe. It's really not that funny at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a couple of moments in the movie where I was dying laughing, but the movie didn't consistently make me laugh as much as I thought it would, and a lot of that is due to a lot of the jokes overextending their welcome. You guys ever had that one friend that has a really funny-ass joke, and everybody laughs at the joke, and then the more they say the joke and the more they do the joke, the less you laugh a little bit less each time they they say it. Yeah, it's pretty much the humor in this movie. They just kind of overdo the jokes to the point where it's just not that funny anymore, and they especially do this with the dick and ball jokes. I was being waterboarded and teabagged by dick and ball jokes in this movie. It's like they couldn't make it a scene without talking about somebody's dick or somebody's balls. In particular, there is one dick and ball joke that goes on a little bit too long, and that's where the overextending the stay thing comes in. If you're going into this movie for story, plot, villain, none of that stuff matters. This movie doesn't even try to make you care about any of that. And towards the end of the movie, things are happening in such an outlandish degree that you just don't care anymore at that point. You turn your brain off, you enjoy the hot women and the explosions. This is a fun, entertaining, disposable, forgettable movie. It's not a movie that I'm probably gonna watch again, but it is a movie that I did enjoy while watching it. And so Baywatch, I'm gonna stick that right back in the golden age. Entertaining, but not highly recommended. Alright guys, that is my review for Baywatch. Don't tell me. The boobs thing was a little bit too much. Go ahead, you can tell me, it's okay. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Boobs!